sometimes I wake up and I'm like, he's just woke up. That's not right from a time point of view. And it's like 3 a.m. your time.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, well, I had my son when I was 19 years old, and from that point onwards, because I shared him with his mum, totally amicably, but from that point onwards, I would have him half the week and she would. And I was just a real light sleeper from then on, man. So I would, wake up at the drop of a fucking pin.
That's me.
Much. But then because having a kid, you're required to actually get up early and look after a life form when they're young. It just built in the ability to operate on minimal sleep. And then couple that with the stresses of running multiple businesses over the years and those initial years where you don't make any money and all of that. I just got really used to running on low. And now I've got to this place where, because ironically, I think I'm an innately lazy person, bro. I think that I'm generally a very lazy person, but my personality type, I have to keep pushing against that. So I'm just in a constant state of not letting the laziness win. And that's really where I come from with it. I get up at 5 every day, sometimes a bit earlier. I set up systems that don't feel natural to me. I'm not a great reader or anything, but I read every day. I try and practice my pads on some capacity most days. I work out nearly every day in some capacity. I'm not a fucking ultra marathon runner or anything. I try and do a bit of everything every single day that will sort of push me forward. Because the thing I noticed with the exercise specifically, apart from maintaining, a healthy weight, because I've been real heavy as well, so there's a bit of that in there. I'm 91 kilos now, which I don't know. Are you familiar with kilos?
Yeah, I'm a kilos. I'm 75 right now.
Okay, sweet. So I've been as low as 75 when I was running half marathons every Saturday. I was 75 kilos. I've also been up to 116 kilos.
Oh! No
I've
shame.
got a photo,
no
bro,
shame,
that I'm going to share with you in the DMs.
No shame, but it's very different from what you are now. 20. Yeah, what's that? 20.
91.
26, 25 added.
Yeah.
So 40 pounds. 50
yeah,
pounds.
so that was just
pounds.
overweight. That was before I started exercising when I was younger, and then I've been about 100 of just sort of more, I suppose, muscle, because I got into that for a while too.
Stan Ripnell.
Yeah, but I just found I was real sluggish and felt fucking awful in the amount of food you got to eat to maintain it. So now, after all the things that I've done, bro, and I've got real psycho about specific exercises like the running, rowing, just the 5x5 with just compound lifts. I bought a squat rack and just devoted 2 years to that shit. Now I'm just about general health. So for me, it's about bang for buck. So all I do every day now is about 30 minutes to an hour on the rower, 50 pull-ups and 50 push-ups. That's it.
What sets you doing these pull-ups in?
My first set's always, for the pull-ups, always 12. And then the second set's always like 6.
Yeah. And then
it really depends on the rest time. But what I do is I do my pull-up. If I do 12 pull-ups, I do 12 push-ups straight away. So I match the push-ups.
Yeah, you have
to,
or else you're going to fuck your shoulders up.
Yeah.
I had a guy, I've got a program off someone once, and it was like, they were like a paid program thing. And the first day of it was like 100 pull-ups and 100 squats with 60 kilos. And
what the fuck?
Yo. And I did it, and then I told him like the next day, and I was like, I'm absolutely fucking dead. And he was like, oh,
I bet you are.
That's just something that I send to see if people will do it. Like to just make sure they've got the sands for the rest of the program. And no one ever does it all. And I did it all, and I was like, honestly, like I was completely fried. It was crazy. But I got super ripped.
That sounds like German volumetric training. It's those sort of numbers.
Yeah, it was like that.
10 by 10. Yeah.
I'll never forget the day after doing 100 pull-ups. Honestly, it was my back that was the worst. The legs were all right. My legs are okay, but 100 pull-ups. I've since done that a couple of times before because I know that I can do it now. Really good way to like pack on some mass quickly. So...
I was going to say too, sorry, caveat to the working out thing. It's the mental health aspect that I appreciate more now. That's all it is, bro. Just makes me feel good.
You are talking to the right guy because my mental health is absolutely in the toilet at all times.
I don't know. I don't believe that. I think you're probably a bit hard on yourself there, Craig.
Do you know that I didn't want to do this today?
Why?
Because I had a bad day. with my head. And I was like, I just want to fucking burn everything to the ground. I was got a live podcast on Friday. I was like, I'm going to fucking cancel it. Fuck this. Behind the camera, as in like, when this camera's not on, psychopath. Absolute insanity.
You just sound like someone who's busy and hustling. It's just the path of the course when you've got more than one thing going on, bro. You want to have downtime, but you can't, all that sort of shit.
My thing is, right, what came out of just before the whole divorce shit, like I had a real bout of insomnia, which was to do with the things that preceded the actual divorce. And ever since then, like that's my trigger. Like if I don't sleep well, like last night my neighbours were stomping around at 2 a.m. and the choices were either go up there and hack their heads off with a hacksaw, which ran through my head, or just deal with it. And then I ended up getting up super early. I ended up, like it just triggers me. It just like takes me back to the horrible time, the horrible place, and then I just let it ruin my whole fucking day. But to bring that back round, then I went to the gym today, and it's the same thing. Afterwards, you're like, wow, I was a psychopath an hour and a half ago. Yeah, that's interesting. Eh?
Lack of sleep will fucking, like I've had my moments. I remember the first 2 months of my espresso bar, I felt like I did not sleep at all, and I actually got there was a bit of psychosis forming.
Ooh. Was that from too much coffee not sleeping, or just stress?
Nah, I got into this habit of falling asleep at about 11 and waking up wide awake at 11:30 and just being like, oh fuck.
That became my thing, and it was like, oh, I guess this is happening again. Oh, it's fucked. In fact, to the point where it's now, I don't want to talk about it because I'm like, oh, I'll be worrying about this tonight. During lockdown, I dealt with it in some ways that there was potential chances for me not to be waking up. So I've since got rid of those. It's definitely much more healthier. But the worst thing is if it happens prior to doing stuff. Like this week, I've got a real busy week, and then some other motherfucker is keeping me awake. It puts the mental health in the toilet. Anyway, I overshadowed your shit there. Why?
No, not at all. There's two things that will fuck me up: lack of food or lack of sleep. Now I fast heaps, but that's when I've decided to. If I want food and something's getting in the way of that, or I haven't slept for a few days properly, that's when the psychosis will kick in. Which I think is just normal human shit, you know.
I was on like a cut before I broke my back, and then I broke my back, and my initial thought was, oh no, and this is such vanity. My initial thought was not, oh no, am I going to play the drums well again? Or, oh no, am I going to be able to go to the gym again? I was like, oh, I was doing so well getting these abs, and now I can't do anything. So that's when I actually started fasting, because I was like, otherwise, because I'd actually heard about like the bone growth and the general like the fasting state being good for recovery, as well as, you know, as long as you're eating enough in the window outside of it. So I started it then, and I love it. Like I'll go to the gym and train heavy weights with no food, and I'll come back around 2, and then I eat about 2, and I eat from 2 till just whenever really. But it always ends up like I go to bed with a full tummy, and then I don't have a tummy ache, and I go to bed and it's lovely.
Yep. So the reason why, like, because I've done it for a few years now, there's two parts of it. Obviously, it's just calorie suppression. That's all it is in terms of the actual numbers. But if you're not eating for the bulk of the day, or like a good chunk of it, it's the engine isn't having to fucking burn the coal, you know? It takes a lot of energy to actually burn food. And so you recover faster because your system's got more reserves to actually do its work. It's not trying to reserve or put all that energy into just getting food through your body. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you don't adhere to the because this is why we get on like people that are like, I did keto and I lost this much, blah blah blah. Oh, I did fasting and I lost this much. At the end of the day, you created a restriction on your calories throughout either way. Other than like the water stuff with keto or whatever, but all it is the calorie restriction, and it's whether or not you can get on board with that.
Totally.
Fasting is the only way I can do it. Otherwise, I am. Like what you said, if I know that I'm making myself hungry until this time, I'm absolutely fine. If I'm hungry because someone else is late for breakfast, there will be an armada. I will be very, very angry. Such a bad human.